Welcome to Get Known, Be Seen WebTV. I'm your host, Trish Springsteen, and it's my absolute delight to be able to bring to you Debra May Silver. Welcome, Debra May. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Trish.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to speaking of Debra May. And before we just go into that, I'm going to share with you a little bit about who Debra May Silver is. Now, Debra is a poet whose words have been published in the Frances Anthology Australia and can be heard as a regular speaker on Words Out Loud, PBS FM Community Radio. Debra May released her debut collection of poetry and black and white photography, My Rabid Fucking Soul, in 2019, and is the founder of Ship Street Poetry. I am looking forward to delving really deep into Ship Street Poetry because from what I'm seeing, Debra is quirky, dark, and absolutely unique. She has studied screenwriting, film production, marketing, and has worked as an account manager in the print and digital advertising arena for 20 years. A fan of Edgar Allan Poe, Oscar Wilde, Nick Cave, Neil Gaiman, and Alice Cooper, her style is more often modern, raw, and dark. She lives in Semaphore, a beachside suburb of Adelaide, South Australia, with her sausage dog, Colin, who I absolutely related immediately to Debra May because I love sausage dogs as well.
Yeah.
Hi, Debra May. How are you going?
Well, Trish, thank you.
Awesome. Look, let's just start. If you could share a little bit about your journey, how did you get from where you were to having this unique style of poetry and being not only that, you're a poet, you're a publisher, and you're the founder of Ship Street Poetry. I need to get that correct. Ship Street Poetry. How did you get there? You didn't just wake up. Here I am.
No. I remember quite distinctly in year 4 in primary saying that I wanted to be an author. Was always the bookworm in the library at lunchtime. So then, life, children, family, and probably a few years ago, I started thinking heavily about, well, when am I actually going to do something about this? I've got had all these journals all over the house that were written in and not properly put anywhere. And a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, said, well, what are you waiting for? Like, just do it, what's your problem kind of thing. So I got myself a bit of a mentor and someone to keep me accountable. And I just started doing all the collating of all the poetry and then obviously writing poetry that was more recent. Then basically going around the area where I live. It's an old, Port Adelaide is near Semaphore. It's a very old buildings and some nice dark alleyways, and did some photography. And that was put together and completed in 2019. I guess I've got a bit of I've got a lot of a passion for free speech and people to be able to speak in their own unique way about anything they think they should. I don't think there's a particular way that you should or shouldn't do. So I guess that's where Ship Street Poetry came from. I knew with the title of the first book, I got a little bit of resistance going to people helping me self-publish with the title and the cover. So I just decided, well, I'll create my own title or publishing title, and I'll choose what I want to have in there and how it looks without being told, how to be creative. So that's how Ship Street Poetry was born, I guess you could say.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the book then.
The book, okay. So the title's called My Rabid Fucking Soul. It's a collection of my own poetry. A lot of it is dark, of times in my life where things were not doing well, and a lot of heartache, I guess, and a lot of angst. I haven't held back with swear words, as you can tell by the cover. And I just think that it wasn't just about me writing about myself, but I just think there's a lot of people out there that have got a lot of things to say, and we just need to be ourselves and speak freely. Society's a lot trying to tell us how we should be, how we should grieve, how we should express ourselves verbally or emotionally. And I think that book to me was, well, you know, you can express yourself however you like, really. There is no formula that we have to live by when it comes to doing that.
Awesome. Awesome. And you're true. Very true. We are often constrained by what society thinks we should be saying and how we should be feeling, especially from grieving and handling issues. So,
I think so. You know, anyone that knows me knows that I'm pretty blunt and straight shooter. And, you know, I enjoy a little bit of a banter and sarcasm. And over the years, it has been taken not in the you know, the spirit of what it was meant. And I just feel that, you know, when I write, same thing. I just want to be able to speak freely. And it's not going to be for everybody. Some people will go, it's not for me, and that's okay. But there's a whole lot of people out there I think it is for, that are waiting to be able to speak freely and say, well, this is how I feel about this, you know, without being told, oh, you shouldn't really say it like that, you know. So that's kind of the core reason behind it, I would say.
brilliant. And I think go for it, lady.
Mm.
Because if we're not true to ourselves, if we're not true to ourselves, how can we be true to anybody else?
Exactly. And I believe in speaking your truth, you know what I mean? And everyone's truth is different, do you know what I'm saying? So only I can talk about my experience the best. I don't think someone else can. So, you know, and I guess I'm actually not originally from Adelaide. So I was brought up mostly in Sydney and Western Sydney. And, you know, you learn to use your mouth to keep you out of trouble. So I guess part of that you might be able to see in the poetry, maybe.
Awesome. Well, I love that. Is there it's going to put you on the spot here. Is there a poem that you could share from the book? A small bit?
You are putting me. I'm one of these. I really don't like reading my own poetry.
There's a lot of people I know who don't. Yeah.
Pardon?
Fair enough. Yeah, I know a lot of
I'm
poets.
sorry.
That's okay. Well,
It's not to say I haven't. It's not to say I haven't. Most of them are emotional, but I just and I don't like getting caught up in the emotion of them. So, yeah.
Oh, you know what that means, people watching? You're just going to have to go and buy.
I'm just thinking if you can convince me or not.
Well, I could.
Do you want to give me a second? I'll just
Let's
I'll find one for you.
Does have to be the whole poem, maybe just a couple little bits of it, or a short one. Just open the book and see what comes out. Often that's awesome because it's the one that needs to be shared.
Okay. Here we go. Now it's quite bright here, so I'll just see if I can see this properly. The book is not a large, like it's actually a small hand, sort of awesome. Like the old school, you know, like in the old 40s when you had the tiny little books. Okay, this one's called The Well. Okay, The Well. I keep feeling sorrow that to get to me you have to dig so deep. I'm right down in the bottom of the well. Believe me when I say it, I know the trip is steep. The amount of times I've climbed these sharp and slippery walls, each time convincing myself that the trek would be worth my pain, realizing that I'm destined to tumble and slide back down while everything just remains exactly the fucking same. I look up with my hands over my eyes, watching you staring down at me, your eyes begging me to come up and meet you there. There's a promise on your face that says you're different, that you won't abandon me like the rest. But the song you're singing to me, well, honey, I'm sorry, but it's already been sung to me by the fucking best.
Awesome.
It does go on. It's not much left. I'm just turning the page. You say you want my love, my heart, my mind, or else you think you can see. Well, to get to that and beyond, you'll have to plunge down into the dark with me. But can you sit with me in this well that's really just a glorified hole? Do you want to plunge right down here to sit with my rabid fucking soul?
Love it. And that's the title poem for the book.
Yeah, but that came after the title. The
Thank you.
title was created, and then that poem was written after, and it just happened to end like that.
Thank you, Debra May. And thank you for stepping outside your comfort zone.
You're welcome.
That was awesome of you. I applaud you to step outside and share it. I like to hear it from, I know a lot, as I said, a lot of my friends and a lot of people I've interviewed are poets. And I do know that quite often they have a hard time sometimes reading their poetry because the poetry comes from their heart and it's so much part of what they are. And then when they read it, they've got to, they get caught up in it. But what I say to them is sometimes you are the best advocate. The best person who knows your poetry is you. The best person who knows how to share it is you. So I often try and encourage them to take that deep breath and share it because I give it something that we reading it don't always get. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now let's just move on a bit. So you've got your ship street poetry up and running.
Yes.
You've got poet, you've got your book, and you publish. How did you go about letting people know, hey, here I am? Was that hard, or did you find that reasonably easy? And what strategies did you use?
Originally, I used a platform which was a GoFundMe platform, and did a video and set that up so people could pre-order. So I did a lot of Facebook, a little bit of Instagram, but mostly Facebook. Ship Street Poetry sponsor spoken word poetry just locally. So that's once a month just down at Port Adelaide. So we sponsor with that. I guess, what else did I do? Radio, I had a couple of radio interviews about that. And then I contacted a whole lot of independent bookstores and asked them about getting the book on board as well.
Now, given that your poetry is very unique, it is really out there, did you have issues with the independent bookstores?
Yes, I did. I wouldn't say issues. I just don't think it was something that they felt they wanted on their shelves or was their cup of tea, to be honest. I think poetry in itself is niche, even though it's a good growing, genre of writing. That then having, something like that again, if you see the cover, I know it's a rat on a bed that's hung over. So I understand that, but then it's been taken on really well by other bookshops too. So, it's not everything is for everyone. So that's all right.
And isn't it brilliant that we have that opportunity, albeit that we sometimes have to fight for it, that we have that opportunity to be able to be unique and share so that those other people who resonate with us can see us.
Yes, it is. And it's interesting because sometimes when people ask you what you do or about your books and you say you're a poet, a lot of times they seem to automatically go to, oh, it must be something really nice, something inspiring. And, I'm not saying it's not inspiring, but that type of puppy dogs and rainbows kind of poetry, do you know what I'm saying? And I had that in mind when I did the cover. So I didn't want anyone to kind of pick up the book and then get into it and go, oh, geez, this isn't for me. So I think, the rat and the title is fair warning. So it's either going to attract its tribe or it's going to let people that's not its tribe kind of know, this isn't for you. So I'm not trying to be everything to everyone. So. And
we shouldn't be. We often fall into that trap. We shouldn't be. If we're being true to ourselves, we will resonate with the people who will resonate with who we are. And that's not everybody. As I often say to my mentoring clients, not everybody's going to like you. And that's freaking well okay. Because if everybody's really boring. So I just really commend you for going down that and sticking to it. And just, so did you have a lot of people that were naysayers? Were the people that were trying to say to you, don't? How did you handle them?
I had a few. The same way I handle anyone else. Go, cool, that's fine. See you later. I don't get caught up on the emotion. I I think I'm very fortunate that I really, honestly, hand on heart, I don't care what people think about me or what I'm doing. I just don't, and I don't know if that's a life lesson learnt over time, or whether that's like a character personality trait that I was born with. I did have someone say to me, "Oh, so they let you, they let you do that title?" And I said, "Who's they? Who's they? Like, no, I'm my own boss. You know what I mean? I'm my own keeper. Whatever I do, I have the consequences of. So I don't have a they that I need to go to." So that was an interesting, how, like, I think about how people think, and I thought that was an interesting comment to say about how other people think. But yeah, and then I had a couple of the publishers I went to, even self-publishing, and the guy actually told me off and said, "I don't like your title." And I got off the phone and I Googled someone else that has a swear word in the title, and they've sold 6 million copies. And I thought, well, the title's not going to stop it from selling. Do you know what I mean? So it's
And
okay.
often when people have come back to you, they're actually reflecting their own.
Exactly. It is, exactly. It's their own movie in their head, and it's their own limitations and thoughts. And that's fine. Yeah, but they're not mine, so I don't take them on. I don't take them on at all. So I did have a few people say to me, you know, because you read some of the poems, Trish, and some of them, when they were written, they were quite heavy. It was quite a heavy time, or I was dragging up some really horrible moments in my life, and I had people come to me or email and say, "You're okay?" And I'm like, yeah, like, emotions are fluid. What I felt then when I wrote it, don't feel today. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't. Does that make sense? Like that particular poem. So I had a few people also say, "Well, what about the swearing? You know, you think, you know, swearing is that great in your book?" And I said, "Yeah, I do, because it's authentic. That's how I speak. That's how I think. It's not an attack. You know, it doesn't have the energy behind it where I'm actually swearing at someone. It's used as a description, you know, of how you're feeling. So I'm comfortable with it. Not everyone will be, but it's okay."
And that's fine. That's where it should be. Absolutely should be where it is. One of the things I just want to bring out, what you just said.
Yes.
There's been a lot at the moment, and a lot of people that I work with, and book coaches and book, is about how writing can be a way of healing and emotion.
Yes.
And I've often actually, and I think, yeah, that's a valid point. And I've always thought, though, that poetry was probably more on that, because from my perspective anyway, poetry to me has always been about feelings. It's been about emotions, because that's how I see poetry. It's about reflection. So did you feel that you writing your poetry in those dark times, was that a healing experience? It may not have been something that you did consciously, but subconsciously, did you feel that that was a way?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I have been asked that question before, and it's not like you go, "Oh, I'm going to write now and I'm going to heal myself." You kind of, it bubbles up, or it comes very quickly. It does depend on the poem. But what I've said to people is, like, I didn't know that was there. So it makes me aware. It gives me self-awareness. So there's one particular poem I wrote where it took hours, you know, it took a whole day, like hours. And that's the one that is about my dead mother. And I would have nightmares about her all the time, you know. So I wrote this poem, and it was kind of like, I thought I was over that. It was a long time ago, you know, and it was like, wow, that's been sitting in me dormant. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of not like I'm feeling like this, I'm going to go and write. Sometimes you're not feeling anything and you write, and this stuff comes out of you and you go, wow, that was in me. You know what I mean? That was sitting inside there somewhere. And then you get to look at it and see it and deal with it, because you can't deal with it unless it's visible.
Brilliant. And I think that was where I was coming from, because I don't think you can do it consciously. I think if you're really in the writing, whether it's just writing or in doing your poetry, you are in that moment, and it's what comes. And I think that's what's awesome. So very good. Thank you for sharing that, because
Thank you.
I think it's something that people need to be aware of. That there is people say that they can't write. And I'm definitely not a poet because I'm not very good at poetry, but I do write. And I think I say to people, everybody's got stories in them, and whether it's poetry or stories or whatever, and just the mere act of doing that does release something in that respect. We were talking just before we came on about how people hide their books inside themselves, and when people start to done their book, it's like, oh my gosh, I've released all of this emotion to my book. I've released all this emotion to my poetry, and no one else is going to get it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like, well, hang on, that's only half the step. So we were sharing some of the ways that you just use your book and what you do with it. Do you want to just share a few of those here so people can see it's okay to let others know that you've got a book? It's really okay.
It's interesting because I was saying I've always written at some point, but I had trouble giving that to someone to read. It's difficult, and it's hard to explain why that is. Logically, it doesn't make sense. And once you get past that, there's no going back. So you just write something and you put it out there. Do you know what I mean? So I carry books around with me. I've got a nice little bag, a little stash of my books and some bookmarks that I've created. And then when the conversation comes up, I've got them there. Social media, like I was saying before, and promoting things through events of people that are actually targeted poetry events. I've got the webpage and Instagram and that as well. So
awesome. It is hard to take that first step, isn't it? To say, okay, I've got this book. And
I was very fortunate enough, and I speak about it in the thanks in the book, to have a friend who is a creative man, and I had the freedom in our friendship where I could, every time I came up with a poem, I'd message and go, what do you think of that? Do you know what I mean? I could kind of it was a safe space where I could share that stuff. And I remember saying to him one day, you always say they're good, like, can you give me some proper feedback? And he goes, well, that's because I think they're all good. So I don't know if that's because he's my friend, or whether that's I think it's because he truly believes they are. I'll say that because he's an honest guy.
if he's a good friend, and if you've got a good friend or a good mentor, they will give you the honest feedback.
That's right.
It's no good if you don't get that honest feedback, because you need that in a good way. You need a creative and constructive feedback. Otherwise, you don't know whether you're going in the right direction or not.
That's right. You don't know what you don't know, and you can't get better at it if you're not told.
That's absolutely true. You brought out something, people, that I want you to think about from what Debra May's just said, is that you need somebody that you can bounce off. Accountability, someone who gives you support. Did you found that extremely valuable in getting your book there?
I found it valuable, and I'm currently editing the second book, which is an anthology, and it has its challenges because it's the first book was all my poetry, second book is other people's, so you have different challenges with that, with placing poems and putting it together. And if I don't give myself deadlines, then I'll say I'm a procrastinator and it'll get dragged out. So always give yourself a deadline. and be accountable. We had a meeting just this week about that, and I said, okay, I've got this date and I'm accountable to somebody for it. So yeah, definitely works for me.
Well, I've seen it work for everybody. I think most people, there are a few people who can do it to themselves, but for a lot of us, working by yourself, and especially when it comes to writing and poetry, it can be something you don't stick to deadlines. You just get caught up sometimes in what you're doing and not realize where you're going, and you need that.
I get caught up. I'm a bit of a procrastinator by nature, but I get caught up in daydreaming, so it's like I need to pull myself out of that daydream and go, come on, you've got this thing you have to do by next week, so Otherwise, I'd be,
I can relate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am. Don't anybody watch. I
Yeah.
am also a procrastinator. I think it's why I know I can work with so many people, because I know what it's like to be a procrastinator, and I know what you'd have to do to get out of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a insidious little thing, isn't it?
Can be.
Can be extremely insidious. You've also contributed to a book that's sort of in its process. It's called 1000 Nipple Effects.
Yes, that's I have, yes.
And you've contributed a poem to that?
Poem that's been put in that what is called Forfeit of a City. And that is a poem which was, funny enough, is about Sydney and my relationship with Sydney, and how much I miss the city, but I hate the city. And just a bit about some trauma and my deaths there. When I say deaths, I don't mean my personal physical death, but deaths of certain things that happened there. And that was sort of written down on the plane back from Sydney a couple of years ago, and it sat and it sat and sat and sat, and I went back to it a few times before I could get it right. And then then when Stacey from 1000 Ripple Effects kind of said, I need something. What is it? I said, well, you go choose. And she actually chose that one. So that was meant to be for her, I think, maybe.
Awesome. Oh, I always, I'm a great believer in things that are meant to be. You don't know what's happening and where they're coming from. How can people contact you, Debra May, if they want to buy your book or...
Okay, so the book's available most if you Google it, but if you Google My Rabid Fucking Soul, I always love saying that because I like seeing people's expressions or trying to, I always have a chuckle when I see it. But shipstreetpoetry.com, so ship, SHIP, streetpoetry.com. You can buy the book from there. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Debra May, author. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Ship Street Poetry as well. So you can contact me that way.
Brilliant. Just before we go, what would be your 2 top tips for someone to get out there and let people know who you are, get known, be seen? What would be the 2 top tips you could recommend?
Okay. 2 top tips. I think find your targeted market and find out where they are and go to them. Because you can tell everyone in the world, but if it's not your targeted market, I think you're just kind of getting a sore throat for nothing, hypothetically. The other way I think is I'm a big believer in social media and again, finding your tribe. So, and take books with you. Have a book in your handbag or in your bag in your car or when you go places. And when people ask you what you do, don't be shy to say, I'm a poet, I'm an author. This is what I do. Be proud of it because, that's another way. You just never know who you're going to be speaking to. You just never know who they are. So
awesome. Love those top tips. I love that second one about being proud and owning who you are. It's stand up there. The best person to do it is you. You're the best advocate for what you've done, your book or your poetry.
That's right.
Absolutely you. Who would you say has influenced you the most?
Oh.
What has been an influence on your life?
Am I writing or my life?
Either. Whichever way you want to go, writing or life. Who's Debra May Silver?
There's probably too many influences to say for me personally because life is, made up of a whole lot of different people and different opportunities and different, circumstances. So if I go for writing, I would say, I'm guessing I would say the kind of Nick Cave, Alice Coopers, where they sing, they're just themselves, like you see Alice Cooper and people think he's this thing based on what he writes or what he sings, but really he's quite he's multidimensional. So that's been a bit of an effect too. So I think that And Nick Cave, I'm constantly listening to his dark and moody music, and you know, it goes to show we don't have to do this fake happy and pretend that everything is good all the time, including our art, you know. So those two have been very big influences on me being able to write genuinely without thinking it has to be something else and fit into a formula.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's awesome that you are in a place where you can be who you are, and that also that you have had the courage to just step up and say, this is who I am. You own who you are, and you're happy to share that. And I celebrate that. Absolutely celebrate that.
Thank you. Thank you for that, because it's not always easy when you do that. Sometimes it feels like it's easier to not be who you are, because it can be confronting or whatever to other people. But long term, you know, it's what's here, and you've got to live with yourself. So you know, you've got to be true to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you do have something that you're prepared to offer our viewers.
Sure. Yeah. If your viewers would like to go to shipstreetpoetry.com. Pardon?
I'll put the link below. So.
Nice. Yeah. You can download the ebook or PDF version of the first book, which is My Rabid Fucking Soul.
Awesome. What an awesome giveaway. People, that is freaking brilliant. How often do you get someone prepared to give you their book like that? Oh, thank you so much. And thank you. Okay. Viewers, if you don't go and press on that link and do that, then you are doing yourself a disservice. And whether you think you like the book or not, I think you need to give yourself the opportunity to go and get a copy. You're getting a free copy. Get the copy and have a look and see what resonates with you. Be open to it.
I think you'll be surprised. Not everything has got swear words in it. There's some very deep spiritual poems in there.
So, people make so many perceptions and assumptions, and I always say to them, don't let the perceptions and assumptions stop you. You make your opinion up, but go and give people that chance. Have a conversation. Read what they've written. Then make up your mind.
It's like food, isn't it?
Yes.
You can't say you don't like it until you've tasted it.
Oh, no, excuse me. I do not like peas. But hang on. I've actually tasted peas, so I suppose that's okay.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Look, thank you, Debra May Silver.
Thank you,
It's an absolute honour to have you here and share just who you are uniquely and where you've come from. And I honour that so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
People, you've been watching Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. I'm your host, Trish Springsteen. Get Known, Be Seen Web TV is all about people being able to come on and shine that light to say, hey, here I am, so they can get out there and be seen. Whether it's your product, a message that you've got, a book that you've written, whatever it is, this is an opportunity for you to come on as a guest and say, here I am. After all, people, something I always say, the best advocate for you is you. You are the best person to speak about your book, your business, or your message. So this is an opportunity for you to do so. It's also a place for people who are experts in how to get known and be seen. And I give them the opportunity to come on to share their little bits of wisdom, their techniques and strategies for you, the viewer, to say, aha, that's a way that I can use. There's a technique I can use. So if you would like to be a guest on my show, just drop a comment below, or you can contact me. My link is below, and I'll be happy to have you. I'm a creative business consultant. I'm a multi-international award-winning mentor. I'm an international best-selling author. I'm one of Australia's leading experts in empowering introverts. And most specifically, I'm here as your host to give you that opportunity to shine. So if you would like me to speak on your stage, whether it be online summit or face-to-face, you can again contact me below. I'll be happy to come and share some of my life experiences with you. Or if you'd like me to be on your podcast or your web TV, again, happy to come and share my experiences with you. Now, before you go, people, there is a big, lovely button here on the web TV which says subscribe. Do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Press that button and subscribe to the channel. Because when you do that, you'll be notified of all the awesome guests like I've just had, like Debra May Silver, who come on and share their experiences and their thoughts with you. You'll get notified when that happens. Until next time, be you, be unique. And remember to stand up and share who you are every minute of the day. Thanks for watching. Bye.